one thing that people have called me is the chief networking officer of AR and VR.
Ooh, I
which
like that
I
a
like
lot.
her. I don't.
Happy Friday, everybody. I'm Brendan Bradley with the Fifth Wall Forum, committed to bringing together industry insiders from the theater and technology worlds to create opportunities for new kinds of virtual performance. And today I'm having a conversation with Samantha G. Wolfe, founder of Pitch Forward and an adjunct professor at NYU. Today's conversation is brought to you by the Fifth Wall Forum Discord channel, a robust community of hundreds of technologists and artists sharing job postings, tutorials, upcoming performances, and the home of Artifact Friday, where our mentors and collaborators share artifacts from their work, giving Fifth Wall Forum members a first glimpse at the latest in innovation and immersive storytelling. Find out more at our website at fifthwallforum.com. That's 5thwallforum.com. And now let's get to the conversation. Welcome, Sam.
Hi, Brendan.
It's so good to have you on the chat. You're kind of to blame for all of this,
Yes.
or to be credited, whichever way we want to go.
It depends on the mood, right?
Right.
Why'd you do
Depends
this
on the
to us?
day. We met last summer, you and I, virtually, and a week later, you tweeted, I think it's time for a theater festival for the XR community. And I guess I should just start this all off asking, what inspired that call to action?
Well, so one thing that people have called me is the chief networking officer of AR and VR.
Ooh, I
which
like that a
like
lot.
her. I don't. It isn't, because it's sort of, it's like, great, but what does that mean? I think that somebody just said it mainly because I tend to know most people, and then I also am like, who you should meet. People say I'm really fun at when we have, sort of physical trade shows to walk around with, because I'll be like, here's this person and that person and this person and that person. So I was on this sort of rounds of talking to people like I normally do. And then it felt like 75% of the conversations I was having were around immersive theater. And it was like, okay, this is getting ridiculous. Like, everyone is talking about immersive theater. And then I'd be like, do you know Brendan Bradley? Do you know blah, blah, blah? Do you know blah, blah, blah? And they're like, no. And so I was basically trying to say, you all should meet. And then went, well, that's sort of not a really exciting tweet to write. And I was like, ooh, you know what theater people like? Theater people like theater festivals.
We like them right up until tech.
Yeah, but it was just sort of like, that's sort of a fun thing. I mean, I was in the TV industry for 20 years. So, and I love film festivals and just that whole entire environment. And so I know that feeling of just like a bunch of people getting together who really sort of love a particular industry and want to see cool things going on. And, everybody was remote, and this was really the opportunity to create something sort of different and cool. I thought, you know what, let me throw all these people together on a tweet at first and see if it sticks. And it did.
You're really getting to the heart of how fractured and siloed this community can be. I mean, you and I both have classes at NYU for exploring these new technologies, but we didn't know about each other. Can you tell me a little bit about, in the before times, there was this, you're talking about like wandering the convention floors and putting people in touch with each other. How do you discover new work and new people to even be this chief networking officer?
It didn't come sort of like, I love meeting new people. That initial meeting, which some people go, oh gosh, that is so scary. That's like some part of my brain about like meeting new people, because it also, I do think of like, who else could they meet? So I just am like always doing research about what's new and cool, and then I just go and ask to talk to them. I have no shame in going and messaging somebody I've never met before, or walking over at a like physical booth and just be like, hi, without an agenda, and I think that tends to confuse people a bit. But then when they realize oh, wait, she doesn't want to sell me something. And I've made some sort of great friends and contacts that way.
I think we can all sometimes feel a bit handcuffed by our own etiquette because, like, I wouldn't want the random person running up to me and kind of like finding me and like cornering me. But we also don't meet people unless the initial approach happens. Do you have any advice about how to make that approach in a non-spammy or weird way?
Oh, it definitely. I just am like, it's gonna, it might come off weirdly. There's definitely certain people that I know that they're going like, oh my God, who is she?
They're
I
like, wait,
have
have we met
some
before?
people I've gone over to, like when I met, I mean, he's no longer there, but when I met like the head of innovation for Major League Baseball, I had read about what he was doing, and I literally jumped up and down when I met him. And there are a few people that get that reaction of like, oh my goodness, and then they're like, oh, who is she? And then once I say you did this and you did that, and like I fangirl like a lot. Um, and if they aren't interested in having a conversation about the future of AR and VR and emerging tech and getting excited about it, they're probably not the right person for me to talk to anyways.
So you heard it here first. Do not play it cool. That's the not the way to go.
No, I am the least cool person ever, and in a way have no game, right? Like it's sort of that old pickup artist kind of thing. Like I just am like, hi, how's it going? And for anyone who's listening, I would bet that about, I don't know, maybe it's like a quarter of the people I've met have had that experience.
Talk to me about meeting so many people across this community. I feel like in some ways there's your work with Pitch Forward and even the work you brought to the Fifth Wall Forum of helping our teams figure out messaging and branding at a micro level to be able to present and reveal their work. I feel like there is this kind of community and conversation and vernacular that's kind of roughly forming slowly. Can you speak at all to what you think is the best way to present this work, specifically the kind of umbrella of XR? Because I feel like the population either doesn't know about it or, to your point, is kind of siloed off doing really cool stuff that like a few niche people know about.
I mean, it's sort of a little bit parallel of emerging technologies in general are uncomfortable, right? Especially for somebody who's never worked with them before. You have to be okay with being uncomfortable, right? That's what I said. I am very much okay with being uncomfortable when I'm like, hey, Brendan, how are you? I just heard about this stuff that you did. And you're like, wait a second. Who are you?
But what do you think makes it uncomfortable?
I think that people in general don't, well, there's a few different things potentially. One is like technology seems difficult if you're not in it. Like it seems
it is
hard.
Difficult even if you're
no,
in
it
it.
is. It is. But I think that it is difficult to actually make, but if you're not a coder or developer and have sort of lived that, oh my gosh, this like new thing came out and now I have to learn it. You know, I've had this sort of belief since the beginning of working in the industry that there needs to be more people involved besides the people who know actually how to do the coding itself.
Sure.
I sort of stubbornly decided that I was gonna, I don't know, just say like, hey, you all need marketing, branding, positioning to allow other people besides the industry itself to understand what you're doing.
Right.
And that's sort of, I've sort of stuck to that. The idea of accelerating the adoption of emerging technologies, sort of using the skills that I have. And that's where I guess that uncomfortable situation happens, that I do feel like if you're talking to somebody outside the industry and you'd be like, I work in VR immersive theater, that they're like, oh, I don't put on a headset. Like, like, oh, no. Or what? But if all they're doing is maybe reading an article or looking at social media to understand it, it needs to be really broken down in a way that is non-technical and non-threatening, so that to be like, oh, I sort of get it now. And then that motivates them to learn more and be more interested. And sometimes those people who are a little bit intimidating could be a potential investor.
Right.
And
Right.
that, what I always call it the hump, but I need a new phrase for it. But sort of getting people over that initial hump of confusion or misunderstanding, and getting them to sort of get to the point where they open their eyes wider, and, the jaw drops a little of like, oh, now I see. I mean, that happens in my class, where I start off with students who have, never, don't even realize that Snapchat is augmented reality at all. And then by the end, they are able to talk like an industry insider.
That's awesome.
I mean, that's an extreme, right? It's like 14 classes, each 2.5 hours long. But I do think that even within a half an hour, 15 minutes of conversation with somebody who doesn't understand the tech or is scared of the tech, I can get them like sort of pumped and excited about it.
This speaks so much to basically the last year of my life, especially with kind of accessibility, or really what I've fallen in love with WebXR as that kind of like first nibble for many people, because you can log on from any device and see it and be like, oh, this is what I'm doing. Because I agree with you that hump, or what I've called a kind of perceived helplessness, is people going, no, I'm not really going to do that or be good at that. And I was literally at a meeting this week that was rarely in person. And someone was like, well, I don't really get what you're doing. And I was like, take out your phone. And I was able to, on our phones, log into a virtual theater with somebody. And yes, it's still clunkier on the phone than it would be in a headset or even a desktop. But the idea that right there, they were like, oh, I get it. We're logged in. I could go see a show. I could see you perform literally right now from my device from anywhere in the world. Now we can begin to have a conversation about how it applies or what they might want to do with the technology, not does the technology exist or work.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons. And I will say that out of, I always introduce people to other people, but I would say that you are probably at the top end of the people that I introduce the most to other people. Like, I just adore that it's just like, we're just going to make it. And if it's, not going to worry about whether it's like beautiful yet.
Right.
Let's figure out if it could even
possible.
I love that attitude, because I feel like so many people are so precious. Like, I actually work with and have started to work with some of the people who are literally the best at their specific technology. And I'm working with them to try to make sure that everybody understands. Of course, you don't say, I'm the best, like, we have the best technology, but have everybody sort of realize that through the content or through what they're saying. It's like flipping the script here a little bit, Brenda. Like what you do is so valuable, because it's just like, let's just do it. And in some ways, that's where, people sort of fall down. They're like, if it's not perfect immediately, it's not worth trying. It's a good thing to live by, of just try it. Just try it. And if it makes you feel a little uncomfortable first,
it's probably a good thing.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's okay. I love that sort of feel of being around people who are really excited about stuff and willing to try. And I mean, I guess that circles back to the beginning of our conversation, right? Of where it's like, you just gotta try, and you never know what was going to happen.
Right.
I want more creative people, more people outside of technology to get involved with its tech and see its potential, because it's only for good. I do believe that it's going to, and I know it sounds so cheesy, but I do believe it's going to change the world. If I were the brand manager of the person who said that, I would be like, no, we can't say that.
Well, it's like the word innovation. You're the only one not allowed to use it about your work.
Yeah, it's like you just have to bring people along, and then have them understand. This is where almost all companies are like, my technology is the most amazing technology on the planet. It is made for everyone, and it's going to change everyone's lives. And I'm like, that is awesome, but we can't say that. And so here I am talking about the industry as itself, saying it's amazing and it could be for everyone.
So let me put you on the spot then, because when it
Oh,
comes
that's
to what
nice.
you can't say,
Yes.
um, what can you say? What is kind of the silver bullet, not necessarily the phrasing or the messaging, because obviously someone would want to work with you one-on-one to develop that out, but what are the considerations someone should bring to figuring out how to begin even communicating and converting their value in their industry with these technologies?
Thank you for such a great layup of a question. Now,
Not at
the
all.
thing that I've found over and over again, people who are developing a technology or or almost anything really, is they tend to forget about who it's for. So basically, the target audience. And so I get to do my pretend acting. I like put my hands together and pretend I'm wearing a hat. Yes, I actually do that. And I go, okay, I'm the target audience, whatever it might be, and then I assume that I don't care about whatever it is the person's selling me,
Hmm.
that I have many, many other important things to do, like tell me right away what it means for me. And so I've sort of consolidated that to my sort of harsh questions, which is so what and who cares, to define those targets and define the value. So the who cares is who's going to care enough about whatever it is that I'm doing, as a, right now I'm pretending to be, I have my product or my service or my performance. Like, who's going to really care enough to spend time or spend money, attending my performance or trying my technology? Like, who is going to care? And I mean that in the absolute best way possible. And then the so what is a great question. It's so harsh. Like, both of them are so harsh, but it also cuts through the I have the most amazing technology that's going to change everybody and change the world. So you do a little bit of so what? And that gets to the value. Like, what value, what thing are you offering to that person who is going to care? And there could be a lot of different target audiences, and there could be a lot of different drivers to what is going to get them to really care about what you're doing.
Right.
But I tend to always go back to that. It's inspired a bit by this guy named Simon Sinek, who's always get to the why. It's not an easy answer, right? It's not an easy process to go through. Like, I have to spend a little time going like, hey, let's put this, you have the most amazing technology, you have the most amazing project or whatever, let's put that to the side. And then I repeat that like 4 times, so like egos aren't bruised. And then I'm like, okay, now we need to answer these tough questions. And they were like, and I'm like, it's coming from a good place. It's coming from a good place, but you still hear it. It's so negatively. But I think it's like a little bit of a dose of reality.
Do you find that the artistic community, especially we talked about kind of immersive theater specifically, is more open to that conversation because they're used to rejection and they're used to constantly having to like prove themselves? Or do you think it's the same?
Maybe, I think a little bit. I mean, I do feel like the executives or the people who are making the technology are also really nervous about like just other people misunderstanding what they're doing. Like, that's not what I do. And it's like, it's okay. I'm
That's
not going to
fine.
totally misrepresent what your company is doing or what your performance is doing. I'm just trying to help.
Right, right.
I know that if I was trying to market something you were doing, even though I think that you're a brilliant and wonderful and articulate person, that you would still have this wait a second, that's not exactly what I'm trying to do.
Right.
Kind of wait, no, and I'll be like, that's okay, Brendan, that's fine. I'm going to draft something, and then you can look at it, and then I'll look at it, and it's collaborative, and at the end it's still yours.
So people feel like their product is getting away from them when you try to make them hone in the messaging.
Yes, yes. And I am like, absolutely not. I'm just trying to make sure that it is articulated in a way that people understand.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit like every person is unique, right? Every single person is a unique entity. I still believe that every single company or every single project is a unique entity. But sometimes in the describing of it, it either one doesn't make sense what that company or production is doing, or 2 sounds like 10 or 20 other things out there.
Right.
And so you're like, how can we make it sound as unique as possible to what it is, reflecting the actual thing, the actual product production, and make it relevant?
Yeah.
That is my role. That is it. The funny thing is that people hate the word marketing in the industry. They hate the word branding in the industry because it does imply that it's like lying.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And I have to be like,
Right.
no,
It's sales.
it is not. It is not that. I am not like going to say something and oversell what is possible. Also, because there's a lot of developers who've been burned.
Right.
Like they're told over and over and over again that what they're working on is going to change the world and make them millions of dollars. And this is why I love my developers, because I'm like, I'm going to protect you from that. I will be as honest as possible as I can in the process to be like, this tech is really cool. This is really cool. Will it make you $1 million? I don't know. Like, that's sort of up to you to take it and do with it what you can. But instead of really selling you hard, I'm going to give you a lot of valuable information.
So if somebody is struggling with those questions or that process, how do they get in touch with you to give you all the monies to help them figure it out?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, the monies to help me figure it out. That's funny. I'm always on Twitter. So it's the Samantha G. Wolfe on Twitter. And then on LinkedIn, it's the same thing. And then we have our wearepitchforward.com. Reach out. Obviously, I don't have problems doing it in the reverse. I will say that I do need to be like poked a few times sometimes recently because business has picked up. But I always am super excited to talk with people who are passionate about this, who are doing something different and exciting, who are moving the technology forward and creating really cool things. I mean, most people say that when they talk to me, they get like super pumped and excited about whatever it is they're doing. And if you're already walking in super and pumped and excited about what you're doing, then it's like, we're going to create magic. I know it.
Well, I feel like that we created a little magic today. This conversation has left me pumped and excited to get back into the things that I'm pulling my hair out over right now. So thank you so much for being a part of the conversation.
Aw, thank you, Brendan. I'm always willing to support and help.
Thanks so much to Samantha G. Wolfe for the conversation. If you want to join me on the show or know someone who might, find me online at the handle Brendan A. Bradley or go to fifthwallforum.com to find out more. I'm Brendan Bradley, wishing you a happy Friday, and I'll see you next time.